Hi, so today I thought I would show you my book collection, such as it is, for anyone who cares. So let's start over here on this bookshelf. There's going to be two shelves I'm going to be looking at today. And this, on the top of the shelf, of course, are my Star Wars books. These are all my Star Wars novels. I didn't start reading Star Wars until the classic EU until 2017. In late January 2017, I read Heir to the Empire. That got me going. So anyway, these are in chronological order, pretty much, for the most part. Starting with Old Republic Revan, the only pre-OT novel I've read. Well, yeah, the only novel I've read without the OT characters. Then you have the Han Solo Adventures, Han Solo at Star's End, Han Solo's Revenge, and Han Solo and the Lost Legacy. Which are surprisingly good. They're set before the events of A New Hope. They're just Han, Chewie, and the Falcon in the corporate sector. The Empire isn't involved in it, or isn't a part of it. I mean, it's mentioned in passing a couple times, but doesn't have an active part in it. But given the limitations that Brian Daley had, and these were published in 79, 79, and 80, so very early on in Star Wars, in the history of Star Wars. And given what Brian Daley had to work with, he did a really good job. They're really enjoyable reads. I can recommend them. Then, let's see. Scoundrels, Allegiance, Choices of One, and and Splinter of the Mind's Eye. They all take place between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Allegiance is a favorite of mine. Splinter of the Mind's Eye is it's not a book I particularly enjoy, but it is an interesting time capsule given when it came out. When was this thing even published? I think it was written before the first movie even came out. Well, it shows publication is 78, but anyway, yeah, it's very, very early, and it doesn't really feel like Star Wars, but like I said, interesting time capsule. Then we have Shadows of the Empire, which takes place between Empire and Jedi. Chusha Bakura, which is one of the two books I have not been able to read. I've tried reading it a couple times, but you know how sometimes an author's style just doesn't work for you. You just can't do it. I think it seems like this is one of those cases for me. Just can't get through it. So anyway, then Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor. Another favorite of mine. Though I can understand people having a problem with a little bit of some of the characterizations, but anyway, the themes are pretty strong. Then, of course, we have the Thrawn trilogy: Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. Always enjoyable to read that. Then the Jedi Academy trilogy: Jedi Search, Dark Apprentice, and Champions of the Force. Then Children of the Jedi. That's the other one I haven't been able to read. Just got a few pages in. I was like, what the heck? Anyway, then there's Darksaber. Then the Dark Fleet Crisis trilogy: Before the Storm, Shield of Lies, and Tyrant's Nest. And those are by far the worst Star Wars books I have in my collection. They totally feel like they were written just to fulfill a contractual obligation. It feels like, the author had, one or two half-baked ideas for one novel, but he had to write three. So anyway, then Ambush at Corellia, which is the first novel in the Corellian trilogy. I did not have the other two. I just was at the used bookstore and I picked that one up, and I don't even know if they had the other two, but anyway. Then, keeping these in chronological order, Spectre of the Past, and Vision of the Future. And those two are, of course, the Hand of Thrawn duology, taking place, what, 15 years after Return of the Jedi? And then Survivor's Quest, taking place, I think, 3 years after that. Anyway, and then bringing it back around here to the first 5 books in the New Jedi Order series: Vector Prime, Dark Tide Onslaught and Ruin, Agents of Chaos, Heroes Trial, and Jedi Eclipse. And yeah, I'm not too keen on the New Jedi Order series, personally. Not the ones I've read so far, but anyway, I've read those. Then bringing it down to the next shelf, let's see here. The New Essential Guide to Droids and Weapons Technology for Star Wars. Okay. And there. Then let's see here. And then there's my Agatha Christie collection. How many are there in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You cannot go wrong with Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie is awesome. If you enjoy reading fiction and you have not read any Agatha Christie, do yourself a favor and read some Agatha Christie. Pretty much anything. Yeah. It's rare that I've been disappointed in any of her books. Now, I mean, this one over here, Elephants Can Remember, is the only one I can remember being disappointed in. Death in the Air was so-so, but the others are awesome. I think I started with Murder on the Orient Express. I think that was the first Agatha Christie book I read. And then there were Nun, Halloween Party were close behind that. And of course, Death on the Nile. I don't remember what order I read them in, but anyway, they're all good. And by the way, if anyone is not familiar with Star Wars novels and thinks that this is a lot, there are 29 here altogether, but the total number of classic EU novels of this type is 146. So yeah, it's not even half, not even a quarter of what's there, and that's not counting the stuff that's directly published for children or in comic books or stuff. Anyway, moving on from Agatha Christie, we have Evelyn Waugh, 4 novels by Evelyn Waugh: Black Mischief, Scoop, The Loved One, and The Ordeal of Gilbert Penfold, all of which are hilarious. Then Dracula, gotta have some Dracula. Then 2 editions of Gone with the Wind. It is one of my favorite novels. A more recent softback version, and then a 1937 hardback version. I've read it 5 or 6 times now. I forget what. And it's one of those novels where the lead character of Scarlett O'Hara is really annoying. She's not a good person, but and there's always a point in the reading where I have to take a break for a couple days because I'm getting so annoyed by her. But it's just so well written that I just keep coming back to it. Anyway, then we have the works of Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland, and others. And we have an Ewok here. I don't know where he came from. And and poor little R2-D2. You can barely tell that's R2, right? I found him buried in the dirt next to the sweet potato patch. Been there for a while. Anyway, moving down to the next shelf. We have well, my G.K. Chesterton collection, but a couple other books in there too. St. Francis of Assisi, as written by Chesterton. Then a collection of short stories by Gwendolyn Christie, And Her Smile Will Untether the Universe. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. A novel which I just have not been able to get through. Then we have my G.K. Chesterton books. Man Alive, A Miscellany of Men, The Thing, What's Wrong with the World, The Catholic Church and Conversion, Alarms and Discursions, The Man Who Knew Too Much, The Man Who Was Thursday, The Everlasting Man. That was the first book I read by Chesterton. Then a handful of authors. Heretics. This is actually Orthodoxy. The Well in the Shallows. St. Thomas Aquinas. The Napoleon of Notting Hill. Tremendous Trifles. Then we move on to Utopia, which by Thomas More, which I haven't read. I've read a couple pages, but I haven't actually worked my way through it. Then we have The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, another one of my favorite novels, possibly my number one favorite novel of all time. Then Tom Sawyer Abroad and Tom Sawyer Detective, not as well known as The Adventures of Tom Sawyer or The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, but still quite enjoyable reads in their own right. They're written the same as Huckleberry Finn. They're written in the first person in the voice of Huckleberry Finn, but they're fun little things here. Get back in there. Okay, then a couple books by Ronald Dahl, Matilda and James and the Giant Peach, and that's actually the order in which I read Ronald Dahl books. I read Matilda first, then James and the Giant Peach. Then we have Frankenstein, the Metamorphosis. Then Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis, his last novel, and it's really good. Similar to Gone with the Wind, the main character, and it's written in the first person, the main character is not likable, not a very nice person, but it is again written so well that, again, I keep coming back to it and I can recommend it. Let's see. Then we have Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. I'm not really a big sci-fi person. I don't really read sci-fi much. But I enjoyed this one. This was a fun little just adventure, a simple adventure story. The sequel is not at all. The sequels, the Rama 2, and yeah, I tried reading it. I read like maybe 50 pages. And that thing is a totally different beast. I mean, it's a soap opera, and a bad. I don't even know what a good soap opera is, but it ain't that. That's not what. Yeah, Rendezvous with Rama is a relaxing excursion, a nice little bare bones, just exploration type of story. So anyway, then we have some Charles Dickens, The Pickwick Papers, A Tale of Two Cities, Hard Times, Bleak House, The Old Curiosity Shop, and Our Mutual Friend. Probably my favorite of those is Our Mutual Friend. Then the Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. Gotta have some Poe in the house, man. Gotta have some Poe in the house. Oh yeah. And then, dang it. Okay. A Good Man Is Hard to Find, short story collection by Flannery O'Connor. A short story collection of Richard Matheson. Some novels and stories of Shirley Jackson. We Have Always Lived in the Castle, The Haunting of Hill House, The Lottery, and Other Stories. Some plays by George Bernard Shaw. Then, swinging around here. Where am I at? Okay. Humbug of Irish Humor. That's my dad. My dad's mom gave a copy of that book to all of her children, so I happen to have that on my shelf. Okay. Then the lighter verse of G.K. Chesterton. the poems of John Keats, the poems of C.S. Lewis. He's not really known for his poetry, but it's actually quite good. I can recommend it. All Quiet on the Western Front. I've long admired the 1930 film adaptation, and the book is just as good, if not better. So, then a couple books by Laura Ingalls Wilder, The Long Winter, By the Shores of Silver Lake, then some Aesop's Fables, Grimm's Fairy Tales, How to Speak Southern, the complete How to Speak Southern. I grew up with that. That's a fun little book. Then A Dill or a Dollar, which is children's poems, basically. Fun little stuff. 3 novels by Ted Dekker. The first short story collection by Stephen King, Watership Down. Still haven't read that. The plays for A Man for All Seasons and Beckett. The Turn of the Screw. Some poems by Shelley. The Screwtape Letters. Gulliver's Travels, still haven't read that. Animal Farm, 1984. William Shakespeare's Star Wars. Star Wars is written by, who is it? What was the name of the author of this? Ian Dosher. Yeah. Anyway. Then, let's see, there's How Star Wars Conquered the Universe. All about the history of Star Wars, of the entire franchise, which is pretty good. I keep rereading parts of it, and then the Once Upon a Galaxy, a journal of the making of The Empire Strikes Back, which came out at the same year the movie did, written by a British dude who's not a sci-fi or fantasy fan, but it's kind of sort of like Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's an interesting time capsule to see the perception of the movies at that time. There's a bunch of interviews in here with various cast and crew, so it's an interesting read. Then down here, there's the complete fiction of H.P. Lovecraft, some Sherlock Holmes, 7 novels of H.G. Wells. Let's see, what were those? The Invisible Man, War of the Worlds. Come on, where are we at? The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Time Machine, First Man on the Moon, Food of the Gods in the Days of the Comet. Okay, and then we have Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Susskind. That's another favorite novel of mine. Then the couple biographies by Bruce Campbell, If Chins Could Kill, and Hail to the Chin. Then The Quotable Chesterton, some short horror stories, some more Chesterton. Let's see, this is then the Star Wars Visual Guide, and Star Wars Locations, which unfortunately, the artwork is Disney Star Wars, and but it's got some pretty cool diagrams in there, so I decided to keep it. But that's the only thing that has anything the slightest thing to do with Disney that I have. And let's see. Then down here we have Mother Goose. Really nice edition of some Mother Goose. That's another thing it's good to have in the house, especially if children in the house. Bring it down here. Okay, this thing just want. Okay. stuff is just Shakespeare. And gotta have some Calvin and Hobbes, of course. Anyway, so that's about it. I almost skipped Childhood's End, Around the World in 80 Days. Okay, so that's about it. Thanks for listening. Bye.